I mean, it's quite unbelievable. We don't expect much from Rita Danistan, as we all know, especially from the president of Rita Danistan. But this is the man who made all his money from being black. That's all. He had no experience running McDonald's. He had no experience running Lonman. He had no experience doing anything that he has done. He made his money because he was Cyril Ramaphosa. He put in the BE laws, and all the white liberals were like, yeah, Cyril speaks good English. Give him billions of rands worth of shares because, he's our guy. Now, the same person has had the same Minister of Basic Education for what? Since 2009? This Angie Moshecha, who has destroyed the education system. And the solution to the destruction of the education system is for private businesses like the ones we own to hire people who have no experience whatsoever. As if we're some sort of charity case. As if it's not hard enough to run a business in South Africa thanks to the ANC.
I actually run a business. You know what, Ramon? I am one of those employers that don't require experience. I recruit and hire a serious amount of individuals to work in a call center. Zero experience required because all my clients are foreign. And as foreign clients, can't really get experience in South Africa that would cater to my members of staff. However, Ramon, here's something that the president doesn't seem to understand. When it's the kiddies' first job, they don't know how the actual corporate world works. They don't understand that when they come to work, they have to tell you if they're going to be sick. They don't understand that there's a thing called notice. So if they resign, they just get paid and leave. They don't understand that there's a thing called training. And that during your training period, you can't really just take leave, especially if it's in like your first week of work, They don't understand that if they had a heavy night drinking last night, they can't just come to work late and go, oh, well, it's okay. You see, because what they inevitably think is that work is like school, and school must be like work. They don't come here understanding the ethical and the practical foundations of actually working in a proper corporate job. That takes experience. Now, unfortunately, what Cyril does by telling everybody, oh, you should just have a job because you're entitled, is that he trains the youth of today to understand that a job should just be provided to them. Therefore, who cares what they do in your job? They'll just get another one, man. I mean, jobs are like apples that just grow on trees and stuff. And I'd like to say that this was hyperbolic, but it's not. It's the actual experience of a large amount of recruiters that recruit in this country. It is not so easy as to say, just drop the experience requirement, man. Because that experience that you would assume that they have, such as don't type your whole email in the subject heading, they just don't have. And somebody's got to pay for that experience. That experience ain't free.
Yeah, and St. Cyril wants us to pay for that particular experience. I mean, I remember when I had my first job at the age of, my official job at the age of 20, 21, the first 6 months is just learning, being on time is important, dressing correctly is important. How do you talk to people on the phone? Learning to speak to people on the phone, because I came from the WhatsApp generation, right? I didn't speak to people on the phone. How to write a check, I had no idea. The first year of employment was basically being taught all of that stuff, and it was very valuable, and now I know how to talk on the phone and things like that. What you actually did for work was sort of secondary to how you behave at work. But as you rightly say, Byron, a lot of these guys do come in, they have no idea how to even behave in the first place, or let alone how to start a computer or anything like that. It's essentially a charity case, which is what Cyril wants, but it's not very good for business now, is it?
No, it's not. And unfortunately, in many instances, many businesses around the country would be more than happy to provide the charity and allow the individuals to go through forms of training programs. But the problem is that kids of these days, and I'm happy to say, lack any form of resilience. And what that effectively means is that the first time they get told off in the workplace for inevitably doing something wrong, their primary answer is, I'm going to go home to my mummy, and my mummy doesn't have this, and I don't want to work anymore because it's not a safe space. And again, I'd like to say that that's really hyperbolic, but it's not. It is the experience of a large amount of recruiters in the country. We have created a generation of snowflakes. Snowflakes, where I have had a member of staff who once got told off for doing something wrong in his shift. He then proceeded to spend the next 30 minutes in the toilet, vomiting. I once had a member of staff quit because I didn't tell them when they could go on lunch and they were really hungry. Yes, I'd like to say it's a joke, but it's not. And unfortunately, a recruiter and an employer can spend a large amount of money getting a member of staff and attempting to train them and provide them with the experience that they lacked at the outset of the job. The problem inevitably comes in that because they don't lack resilience, you're wasting your money. 6 months in, they'll leave because you told them off or you're not using a different type of pen that they shouldn't have done. For the millionth time, you've told them. Ramon, it becomes very difficult for employers of today to take Saint Cyril's advice and just be charitable. Because unfortunately, the charity doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, and again, this is what the ANC has created. The ANC has created an entitled culture here in South Africa. Go to anywhere else in Africa. What are the stereotypes of these South African people? Entitlement, xenophobia, and arrogance. Why is that? Because the ANC says if you don't have jobs, here's your grant. The only country in Africa with grants, just by the way. Anywhere else on the continent, you have to find something to eat that day. There's no such thing as a grant. But in South Africa, we have a bit of wealth, we have a bit of history of infrastructure, so we can afford to exploit that, to pay off the voters of the ANC. But all of this entitlement is coming to a head. Businesses are not standing up for it anymore. A lot of the electorate, perhaps, is not standing up for it anymore. And sooner or later, that entitlement is going to explode in the faces of everyone when the fiscal cliff hits us nice and hard. So Saint Cyril of the Reform, it's very nice of you to say, businesses might take up the slack for the ANC's failures. But, retail Afghanistan is real, and businesses are actually kind of tired of it.